Lil Durk's so-called hitman just dropped some bombshells in court, and now everyone's calling Durk a bounty hunter. Here's the twist. The guys accused of collecting the bounty just faced a judge, and it turns out one of them might have snitched. Yeah, things are getting crazy. But wait, there's more. While all eyes are on Durk, the 5 alleged hitmen who carried out the shooting in LA last year just had their court hearing, and a lot of shocking details have come to light. On October 24th, federal agents arrested 5 men connected to a shooting from August 20. He managed to escape, but his cousin, El Po, was killed. Prosecutors claim it was revenge for King Von's death, since Quando Rondo and his crew were supposedly involved. Before Durk was arrested, the cops went after 5 suspects: Kevin Grant, Deandra Wilson, Keith Jones, David Lindsay, and Asa Houston. At least 3 of them are tied to Durk's music label, UTF, which law enforcement is now calling a gang. They're also claiming Durk is the mastermind behind the hit, though he isn't directly named in the Hitman case. In other words, they've got a whole separate case against him. It's a mess. And what's wild is that even before the hitman got arrested, Durk was already fighting accusations that UTF is a gang. This just makes things even worse for him. The roles these men played in the Quando Rondo shooting are starting to make things look worse and worse for Lil Durk. So who are these guys? And what exactly did they do? According to police, 3 men were the main players in the operation, with Kevin Grant, the guy on the right, allegedly being the leader. These 3, along with the other 2 men arrested, faced their first court appearance on October 24th in Illinois, but they're expected to be arraigned in LA soon. As of November 4th, 3 of the suspects are. Now, let's get into what we know about their involvement in the shooting. Prosecutors say the group flew out from Chicago to California, where they rented 2 cars and used them to stalk Quando Rondo and his crew. The prosecution claims Lil Durk put a bounty on Quando's life, and these men were sent to collect it. To back up these claims, investigators say they used UTF-linked cards to book one-way flights from Chicago to San Diego on August 18th, 2022, just days before the shooting went down. They also booked a room at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, California. But here's the kicker. There's CCTV footage showing the rented cars trailing Quando Rondo's vehicle, further tying these guys to the crime. And if that wasn't enough, it turns out Lil Durk himself also flew to California around the same time. The case is stacking up against him, and things are looking bad. This isn't just about a shooting anymore. This could be the start of something much bigger. Here's where things get even crazier. The same day the hitmen were in LA, Lil Durk allegedly flew in on a private jet, unlike the others. Now, you might think it's a dumb move for Durk to show up at the scene of the crime, but the prosecution says he probably wanted to oversee it personally to make sure it went down right. Even with him supposedly in the mix, they still couldn't take out Quando Rondo. What's worse is that it seems Durk didn't just show up to watch it. Claimed he gave the hitman guns and ski masks to carry out the job. And get this, it turns out that Kevin Grant, the supposed leader, was with Durk on the private jet. He wasn't just a passenger. The prosecution claims Grant was Durk's eyes and ears throughout the whole operation. They say Grant is the one who booked the hotel room and rented the 2 white cars used to chase down Quando Rondo. Once they had everything set up, they hit the streets. The hitmen reportedly stalked Quando all over LA while he had no clue they were tailing him. At the time, Quando was with his sister and his cousin, El Po. They were just out running errands, stopping at different places, totally unaware that a group of killers was on their tail. Then, things took a turn. Quando stopped at a gas station to fill up, and that's when the hitmen saw their opportunity. One of the cars, allegedly carrying Asa Houston, Keith Jones, and David Lindsay, pulled into an alleyway behind the station. They jumped out and opened fire on Quando's parked car. Chaos broke loose, but somehow, by some miracle, Quando Rondo managed to dodge all the bullets. This whole thing sounds like something out of a movie, but according to the prosecution, it's all real. The more they reveal, the deeper the whole Durk and his crew seem to be digging. It gets even darker. After the failed attempt on Quando Rondo's life, the hitmen allegedly regrouped at a local hamburger joint, where prosecutors claim they discussed how they'd be paid and booked flights back to Chicago. What really seals the deal, though, are the incriminating text messages that were revealed in court. In one of them, Durk supposedly messaged the hitman, saying, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." This was the smoking gun the prosecution needed, showing that Durk was, at the very least, trying to distance himself from the operation, but the evidence is stacking up, and it's not looking good for him or his crew. But just when you think it couldn't get worse, here comes the bombshell. One of Durk's own has allegedly turned on him. Jam, a longtime member of Durk's gang, is being accused of snitching. For years, OTF prided itself on loyalty, but now it seems that loyalty was just a front. Reports say that Jam, who's been with the crew for nearly 2 decades, has been wearing a wire for 12 years, feeding the police information about Durk and the rest of the crew. You'd think someone like Jam would be untouchable, given his long history with OTF, but apparently not. And to make things even more suspicious, Jam was serving a 12-year prison sentence but was suddenly released just days before the hit on Quando Rondo was allegedly carried out. What a coincidence, right? Jam isn't just some background figure. He's actually a rapper and has a few songs posted on Durk's official YouTube channel. He wasn't just a random member, he was close to Durk. And now, another Chicago rapper, King Yella, has come out publicly to slam Jam for snitching, calling him out for betraying the crew. Things are crumbling fast for Lil Durk and OTF. If Jam's really been working with the feds all this time, it's not just one person turning on the crew, it's a deep betrayal that could bring everything down.
Lil Durk been picked up by the feds. I don't know if he's been charged with nothing. Probably questioning him. They put in OTF and a lot of things. But I heard somebody named OTF Jam, they said they've been calling him a rat. And basically he said, okay, I'm a rat.
He then talks about what this could mean for their group.
Well, watch this. Watch this. That all this information that I know. Rat this, I'm gonna tell this, I'm gonna tell that. My video earlier, I told y'all, man, if somebody say Durk name, that's all it's gonna take to say that man's name. And obviously, like I said earlier too, if they come, they coming.
After that, he further elaborates about how screwed they are.
Somebody telling, somebody from OTF, somebody OTF affiliated, somebody that know enough information on Lil Durk and his crew. And it's messed up. That's why I'll be saying, I don't care how much money you got, what's going on, man, these people will throw you under the bus.
Another big part of the online debates about the situation is that Durk may have known this was coming due to songs that seem to have foreshadowed his arrest. This is what Yella says about that.
Maybe Durk felt it already. He felt that it was coming. It was something coming. He knew something was coming. You know how he knew something coming? Because everybody kept saying he's trying to dodge that Rico. Everybody been saying this. So if everybody else knew it, you think he wasn't in his head? Mama Duck suing him. Everybody.
Lil Durk might not be the only one with incriminating music. Jam, a longtime member of Durk's crew, has dropped tracks where he seems to admit to being involved in the shootings and even throws shade at Durk and other OTF members. One of these songs, called Federal Freestyle, is especially raising eyebrows. And yeah, it's not just a rumor, this track is real. What's even crazier, it was released on Durk's official YouTube channel right after Jam got out of prison. Talk about a bad look, the comments on the video are roasting Jam for what looks like a clear admission of snitching. One fan joked, "A Jam turn your wire up this mighty feds," while another posted, "This came home wearing a wire and still made this track, angle. That's some nasty work." People are starting to realize OTF might not be as loyal as they've been claiming all these years. For years, Chicago's been seen as home to some of the most dangerous, real gangsters in the US. But now that reputation's starting to crack, some are even saying it wasn't money that made Jam flip, it was McDonald's. Yep, you read that right. There's a rumor floating around that Jam decided to turn informant while he was locked up and that it all went down during an interrogation, with a McDonald's meal allegedly involved in the deal. If this turns out to be true, it's not just a betrayal of Durk and OTF, it could change how people see the entire Chicago rap scene. Money might talk, but it looks like some guys are talking for a whole lot less. Now, just to be clear, the fact that Jam might have been eating McDonald's in jail doesn't definitively prove he snitched, but come on. Why else would he be chowing down on fast food behind bars, unless there was some kind of deal in place? It's suspicious to say the least. But let's not get too carried away yet, because Wack 100 had a lot to say about the whole situation. Speaking to DJ Vlad, Wack explained that Jam did 12 years in prison, got out, and was interviewed, claiming he kept it real the whole time. Wack says they even gave him cars and $50,000, with Jam insisting there was never any smudge on his name. He's never been a rat. He mentioned that he caught a gun casement but eventually flipped, meaning he might have cooperated with authorities. Vlad clarified that Jam had served 12 years for an attempted murder charge dating back to 2010. But the timing of his release is raising even more eyebrows. Jam got out just a few days before the shooting allegedly took place. Talk about strange timing, right? If I were Jam, I'd be keeping a low profile in Chicago, because things aren't looking too good for him. The prosecution's main goal is to prove that OTF isn't just a music label, but an actual criminal gang. With all the evidence piling up and an insider on their side, it might not be too hard for them to make that case. And if one member flips, what's stopping the rest from doing the same to save their own skin? And just when you thought things couldn't get worse for Lil Durk, here comes another bombshell. On November 8th, news broke that Durk is facing even more charges in connection with the alleged murder for hire plot. If he gets convicted, he could be looking at life in prison. Reports say he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 new felony charges tied to the case. Things are spiraling fast, and it's looking more and more like the walls are closing in on Durk and his crew. This situation keeps getting messier by the day. The charges against Lil Durk just keep piling up, and they're serious. He's now facing accusations of orchestrating a hit on Quando Rondo, which also led to the tragic murder of Quando's cousin, El Po, who was killed in the crossfire. If Durk is found guilty of these charges, he could be facing life behind bars, something that would completely shatter his life and career. At 32 years old, Durk's music career was on the rise, and he was starting to live the kind of life many would envy. But now, it looks like he could lose it all if he's convicted. The new charges against him are even more damning and could put him deeper into legal trouble. He's facing conspiracy charges, using interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, carrying and discharging firearms, and using a machine gun. These are fresh charges on top of the ones he was already facing, stemming from his arrest on October 25th near Miami Airport. Why was Durk at the airport? Authorities believe he was likely trying to flee the country, something that makes sense given he had booked 2 separate flights, one to Switzerland and one to Italy. It looks like Durk was trying to throw the police off his trail and escape. This is likely why the judge denied him bail, and now he's sitting in a Florida jail, waiting to be transferred to LA to face justice there. It seems like the prosecution isn't just trying to link Durk to the attempted murder of Quando Rondo and the murder of El Po, they're going after the bigger picture. The more they dig, the more it looks like Durk is tangled in a much darker web than anyone could have imagined. The recent indictment and charges against Lil Durk aren't just about a single crime, they're being used as an opportunity to take down his entire operation, which the prosecution claims revolves around his alleged gang and music label, OTF. According to the indictment, Durk founded OTF back in 2010, and while the surface-level goal was to promote and produce music for up-and-coming Chicago rappers, prosecutors are arguing that OTF's real purpose was much darker. They say the group was also involved in criminal activities, including violence, murder, and assault. The prosecution's case paints a picture of OTF as not just a music collective, but a criminal enterprise. They claim that Durk is the mastermind behind the whole operation, using the gang to carry out violent acts that boost the status of its members. They specifically point to his feud with Quando Rondo as the reason Durk allegedly orchestrated the shooting that left Rondo's cousin, El Po, dead. An official U.S. attorney speaking about Durk's involvement didn't hold back, referring to Durk by his real name, Durk Banks. The prosecutor stated, Mr. Banks is charged with orchestrating a cold-blooded murder that resulted in the death of a rival's family member. But it doesn't stop there. The prosecutor made it clear that they're not going easy on Durk. They emphasized the severity of the crime, noting that the shooting occurred in a public place, at a busy gas station and intersection, putting innocent bystanders in harm's way. This is a serious case, and prosecutors are making it clear that they won't treat Durk lightly. This isn't just a gang-related shooting. It's a violent act that endangered the lives of many. The walls are closing in, and things are looking worse for Durk with each passing day. This situation is becoming a nightmare for Lil Durk, and it's bigger than just him. The prosecution is making it clear that the violence tied to Durk and his crew is devastating to the community, and they're showing zero tolerance for this kind of behavior. They're not holding back, especially when innocent lives are at risk, as seen with the shooting that ended in the death of LP. But here's the kicker: Durk hasn't even made it to California yet. The fact that he tried to flee the country is only making things worse for him. The prosecution is using his attempt to leave as proof of the FBI and LAPD's far-reaching power. An FBI prosecutor from LA had this to say about the situation: the apprehension of Mr. Banks as he attempted to leave the United States is once again proof that the FBI and our extraordinary partners at the Los Angeles Police Department have a long reach. It's never a good sign when the FBI gets involved, and this statement shows they're coming down hard on Durk. But what really stings is how the FBI director almost mocked Durk in his statement. He said, "No excuse can justify this violent act. And let me be clear, while you're going about your life thinking you got away with it, the FBI is piecing together the facts that will serve as your undoing." That's the kind of statement no one wants to hear when they're under investigation. It's clear that Durk probably thought he was in the clear since the murder happened nearly 2 years ago. But what he didn't know was that behind the scenes, the FBI and LAPD were quietly building their case, putting together all the pieces, and waiting for the right moment to strike. And even though the arrest took longer than expected, the LA police chief working on the case recently explained why it took so long. He said cases like these often require meticulous work, and the prosecution needed to make sure they had everything lined up before making their move. At this point, it looks like Durk's worst fears are coming true. The feds and local law enforcement have been closing in on him, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Cases that stretch across multiple states and jurisdictions are a nightmare to handle, and they usually only get solved when different law enforcement agencies work together. The authorities have spent hundreds of hours piecing this whole thing together, using everything from surveillance to search warrants, forensic tech, and non-stop traveling and collaboration between local and federal agencies. All that effort finally led to Durk's arrest, but just when you think things can't get worse for him, they do. Durk's not just linked to the shooting of El Po, now he's facing another murder charge. A lawsuit was filed against him on October 9, 2024, related to the 2020 murder of FBG Duck, a notorious Chicago rapper. This came just a week before Durk was arrested in connection to El Po's death. October was clearly a horrible month for him. The lawsuit was filed by the mother of FBG Duck, who was killed in cold blood in 2020. The claim is that Durk used his OTF gang to eliminate Duck, who had beef with Durk after the two came from rival Chicago gangs. Their feud played out in their music, with Duck releasing songs that allegedly dissed Durk. That might have been all it took for Durk to act. What's even more shocking is the timing. Duck's murder happened just after King Von, Durk's close friend and mentee, was killed. According to the lawsuit, this chain of violence might be connected, and it paints Durk in an even darker light. It's starting to look like Durk's not just involved in a single hit. This could be part of a bigger, ongoing pattern of using his gang to silence his rivals. If this lawsuit holds up, it's another serious blow to Durk's already sinking reputation. Instead of mourning the loss of his friend, King Von, Lil Durk was allegedly plotting to take out his enemies. That's the story behind the 2020 murder of FBG Duck. According to a new lawsuit filed by Duck's mother, Here's how the lawsuit says it went down. In August 2020, Duck was in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood, waiting outside a Dolce & Gabbana store. While he was there with his girlfriend and a friend, a car rolled up and gunmen opened fire. Duck was killed, and his girlfriend and friend were wounded. It was a brazen attack, and Duck's murder is now being linked back to Durk. Duck's mother didn't hold back when speaking about how it affected her. She said, "Not a day goes by that I don't think about him and the life that was taken from him. The murder happened 4 years ago, but now his mother believes it's the perfect time to hold Durk accountable." While 6 men have already been convicted for Duck's murder, his mother and girlfriend are now filing a lawsuit, claiming Durk was the mastermind behind the whole thing. They say Durk put a bounty on Duck's head, and members of his OTF gang were the ones who carried out the hit. Sound familiar? This is eerie, similar to the case with Quando Rondo, right? It's a pattern that the authorities and the public are starting to recognize. The attorney representing Duck's family claims that a $100,000 bounty was placed on Duck's life and that Durk was the one who orchestrated it. If these allegations hold up, this could be another major blow to Durk's already tarnished reputation. But it's not just Durk's actions that are under fire. Duck's mother is out for more than just personal justice. She's gunning for Durk's entire empire. The lawsuit claims that the whole OTF organization is responsible, not just Durk as an individual. If she succeeds, this could bring down everything Durk has built, both as a music label and an alleged criminal enterprise. This is about more than just a murder. Now it's about destroying Durk's entire operation. And with the way things are going, it seems like the walls are closing in on him from all sides. Anyone connected to Lil Durk and his OTF gang could be facing serious consequences, especially considering the heavyweights behind OTF's music career. While OTF is officially a music label, they're partnered with some of the biggest record companies in the world, like Sony, Universal Music Group and Interscope. It might sound like a stretch to link these major labels to Durk's alleged criminal activity, but according to FBG Duck's mother and her lawyer, they're guilty by association. They claim these record labels knowingly sign artists involved in gang activity, and therefore, they should be held accountable. While it's true that the labels must know what kind of people they're signing, after all, a lot of OTF's songs talk about street life and violence. It's unlikely that Sony, or Interscope will face any legal consequences. Still, the lawyer for Duck's family makes a valid point. They want authenticity, which has bred these types of individuals getting into the music business, carrying out their activities, and the record label companies are fueling it, financing it, and developing brands for it. You can't argue with the fact that record labels don't seem blind to the violent culture their artists offer. The lawyer went on to say that it crosses the line when those lyrics and authenticity spill out of the music and into the streets, leading to real-life violence. And when you start putting hits on people, it's no longer just entertainment. So far, neither Durk nor his record labels have commented on the lawsuit. But with the FBI breathing down their necks, they probably have bigger problems to deal with right now. But if you're wondering why Durk allegedly put a bounty on Duck's head, it's not